Hello everybody, Mannix here. First, let me just say thank you for watching. If you want to see any more knife reviews after this one, or any gear, flashlight, EDC videos, etc., feel free to follow me, feel free to subscribe, feel free to click that little bell button down there if you want to see weekly videos. I'm making a lot. So, let's get right into it. This is the CRKT Ritual. It's a very, very exciting, intriguing knife. Whether you like it or not, you're either going to see this and go, wow, that's amazing, that's awesome, how do I get one? Or you're going to be like, nope, click on another video, that looks horrendous. It's a very extreme design. This knife defines the word extreme. I always talk about versatile and extreme designs in knife. This is definitely extreme. That's what I mean. You just look at how upswept this Persian-style blade is. Look at the colors on here. It looks very unusual. I think it's beautiful, really cool looking knife. And it functions very well too. It performs, absolutely. I've been using this for quite some time now because I like the way it looks and it intrigued me. That's why I bought it. So there you go. Let me get the specs out of the way first. Notes here. We have the blade length of 4.37 inches. Handle length is 5.49 inches, making the overall length 9.88 inches. The weight is 6.1 ounces. And the handle material, the white, yellowish white color you're seeing right here anyway, as far as the handle is concerned, is what they call a fiber-infused resin. We'll get into that. I'm going to call it FIR instead of FRN. Ooh. And then we have a stainless steel bolster right here. It is not aluminum or titanium. It is stainless steel. The blade steel, let's get on to the business end of this, is probably the only thing you really care about. 12C27, which is a Sandvik steel. Satin finish on there. It is assisted, by the way. It is a liner lock, as you can see. And it's got the IKBS ball bearing system on there, which means it's going to be a lot more smooth and fly out of the handle easier. So where do I begin with this knife? It's just very intriguing, very interesting, very extreme. This is going to be an excellent slashing blade. Now really, what's the point of the Persian style? I guess you could call that a clip point. It's going to get probably a lot of different names if you ask different people and look up different websites. But the point of this cutting edge, I mean, it's not the most useful with a folding knife, but for swords and stuff, the more curves, the more a cutting edge moves around and is not flush, the more curves and the more it waves around within that same amount of cutting edge compared to a flush or Wharncliffe cutting edge, let's just say, you technically have more cutting edge even though the length would be the same. So if we took a blade that was this exact same length but it was flush, it was flat, it was a Wharncliffe or a sheep's foot or something, this technically would have more cutting edge if we got some sort of tape measure that could wrap around this whole thing and calculate that. So technically you have more cutting edge to work with. So if you're doing a slash, let's say if this were a Persian sword and we amplified this size and you slashed against someone, you have as much cutting edge as possible making contact against your enemy or whoever you're slashing it against, therefore causing more damage. Meaning, it cuts better. That's the very short answer. It cuts better in that specific cut. Interesting. Now for a folding knife, you're probably not going to be slashing at things very much, although technically you could, technically speaking. But that's what the blade excels at. That's what it's for. Now you might look at this and go, that is completely useless. No, it's not useless. If we get rid of this tip right here, that's what you have. Let's go down even here. Yeah, it's just like a belly. It's kind of like a clip point. The only disadvantage is the tip is not right here. If you wanted to use this to pierce into something, you'd normally with blades and the cutting edge is kind of up here, or it's a little bit more on the curved side, you have to arc your wrist more so to get it started, to get the tip to cut into whatever you're cutting, the package, the box, whatever. With this one, it's basically impossible unless you flip it upside down and then push forward. It's still useful. You just have to, do a little something different in order to get that to work. So it's going to take some getting used to. But if you took one look at this knife, you probably already understand that. It's not like, okay, it's going to be just like any other knife. I'll rotate through my EDC. It's going to be a little different. The main thing just being the tip if you're opening a box or doing that that's cutting motion. I do that cutting motion a lot with my knives. However, you can also just use the belly. The belly does protrude out a lot. So alternatively, you can do that style cut as well. It's not as useless as it may look. It's completely useful. It's just very obtrusive and it's a little awkward if you don't really know what you're doing. It's a big knife, by the way. It's very big. I have large size hands for a glove reference there. But if I scooch all the way down here, look how much reach I have. I wouldn't go any lower than that. If this was a defensive situation or trying to get as much reach as possible, I'd go down to here with my pinky at the very butt end of the handle there. A lot of reach there. Again, we have an overall length of 9.88 inches. It's almost 10 inches. It's a long knife. Very interesting. It's just beautiful. I think it's an absolutely beautiful knife. I love the white handle here with the blue, the white and the blue. We have a blue stainless steel, I'm assuming, backspacer right here, which matches up with the bolster, which is also really cool. Pocket clip is a dream. I like the way it looks. It's kind of squared off, interesting. Looks like it's a little bit stonewashed there. Love it. You can take it off, as you can see right there. You have a little cutout there. It is a loop over clip. Very little is going to be poking out of your pocket there. That's great. Even though it's, medium length pocket clip there. Many people may not know it's a knife. Who knows? But it's definitely beautiful. I like how it's curved. Again, I like the squared off look. It's a very nice looking pocket clip. You cannot swap it to the left side. This is a righty-friendly knife, unfortunately. But it is tip up at least. So, yeah, I got that thing right. CRKT's been making more of their knives tip up lately. For the longest time, they were only tip down. From what I understand, the owner of the company, or somebody who was high up in the company, whoever it was, did not like the orientation tip up. I don't know if that's just a rumor or not, but that was kind of going back a ways. It must have been 7-8 years ago I heard that, so who knows. But anyways, tip up, awesome. Carries like a dream. This handle scale is extremely smooth right here. No texturing whatsoever. It's not grippy. It's very smooth and slick, actually. So putting it in and out of your pocket is extremely easy. You can do it with sweatpants, jeans, cargo pants, take your pick. You can put it in and out of your pocket with one hand. You don't have to get it started or hold down on your pocket as you put it in and pull it out. One hand all the way. It's flared out just enough, but it's not too goofy or too out there that it'll snag on anything, but it's not so squashed down it'll be difficult to extract or insert into your pocket either. It's a great pocket clip. Absolutely love it. So you pull it out, you're going to be about in this position. Your index finger more or less should make it to that flipper, and it will flick out every single time because it is assisted. And you have the IKBS in there. That's something that really intrigued me about this knife was the combination of the torsion bar, the assisted opening, and the IKBS. Essentially, the IKBS system is a bunch of ball bearings on the track right there, usually where the washers would be. There's probably ball bearings contained in there, or maybe it's ball bearings on the washers. I haven't opened it up to find out. But either way, it's extremely, extremely smooth, much smoother than a knife without it. I don't know why every knife does not have that. It just makes them so much more smooth. You don't even need a wrist flick at all with them. Some people may argue they don't want ball bearings coming off the tracks or falling out when you open up the knife. That could be a disadvantage. Yeah, but the CRKT Tac 2, a knife I gave away about a year ago, that one had washers with ball bearings embedded within the washer. So there's no way the ball bearings were going to pop out or fall out or anything. It was literally just like one single piece for each washer. That was hella smooth. Don't know why every knife doesn't have it, but I think more and more companies are starting to use ball bearings. It's a dream. And again, that with the combination of it being assisted makes it extra smooth, and that's what really intrigued me. I was eyeballing this knife for quite some time, and then I finally pulled the trigger on it when I found out it was assisted and had the IKBS, and I found a good deal on it somewhere. By the way, I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier, it retails at $94 even, but you can find this just under $80, maybe 80 at the higher end, depending on where you look. Is that worth it? Well, let's talk about the blade steel here, because that's the meat and potatoes of the knife, right? We're trying to cut stuff, so that's probably the most important part is the blade. The 12C27 Sandvik. Is it good? Is it bad? I haven't used this knife like a whole lot as far as its cutting goes. I don't use my knives. I don't just cut and cut and cut and cut and cut stuff all day to the point that I notice a difference in the cutting edges and the blade steels and how long they retain their edge, etc. I don't use my knives enough to notice, and I have so many knives that rotate through my EDC. If I had one knife and I was cutting stuff with it all the time, oh yeah, I'd probably notice pretty quickly, but because the use gets spread out to so many different knives that I have, I just don't really notice it, generally speaking. But from what I've researched, it performs somewhere around 8CR13 MOV and AUS 8A, or AUS 8. If you've seen my videos in the past, you're probably very familiar with those blade steels because most of my knives have either one of those. And I think they're great blade steels for the money. They're lower end, they're very budget friendly, but they get razor sharp and they retain an edge long enough. They have good enough wear resistance, good enough corrosion resistance, etc. Strong enough. No, they're not amazing. They're not great blade steels, but they're good for the money. You want a better blade steel, you got to pay more. That's just how it is. So I don't mind them. And again, I don't use my knives all day, day in and day out to require a better blade steel. So it's not really the end of the world for me, but it's kind of a lower end steel, and that's interesting on such an elaborate more middle ground / slightly more expensive knife. It's approaching $100, so I would say it's on the more expensive side. It's subjective, but that's how I see it. They could have put a better blade steel on here, but the price would go up even more, probably $120, $150. They put something even nicer on there. So it is what it is. Again, we have quite an attention to detail on this hardware, and the blade itself maybe just costs a little bit more to manufacture the steel in that shape, along with the materials, the fit and finish, how it feels very polished and smooth. You can see this handle scale right here is beveled. That's another thing that goes into the process of it. There's a lot more to it than just the blade steel. Some people just look at a blade steel and the price, and then they come to a conclusion, is the knife good or not? I don't agree with that. I think there's more to it. Generally speaking, that can tell you a lot, but I don't care too much about the blade steel as long as I know it is functional, it's sharp enough, it'll retain its edge long enough, etc., etc. I've already explained this many times, so it is what it is. You know, it's lower to middle tier, I would say, lower mid-tier blade steel. Now, would you need a very, very high-quality blade steel that'll last forever on this style blade? Because it's kind of a showy knife. It's kind of, some people might consider it goofy. I don't think it's goofy. It's extreme to me. I don't think you would really need a very high-end blade. That would be for a blade that you're using all day, all the way, cutting, and this shape is so extreme, it has very specific uses, which means you're going to be using it less, I feel like. So it is what it is. I actually don't mind it at all. So we have a decent blade steel on here. We have really nice looks on it. Very good fit and finish, very nice aesthetics. Again, I like the blue stainless steel. Bolsters right here. Would have been kind of cool if they just used aluminum, but it is what it is. They had to coat it with something. And I saw in Cutlery Lover's review that his was scuffed and you could see the steel exposed throughout there. So I don't know what kind of coating they put on here. Basically, you have to coat stainless steel if you want it to be colored a certain way. So I'm assuming that's what they also did to the backspacer right there. Again, looks absolutely beautiful. I love the return of the color theory on there. It's a nice little attention to detail. Looks nice. Deploys every single time, lightning fast. It's buttery smooth. A little bit of side to side, but you can adjust that out, I'm sure. Up and down lockup, actually, there's just a little bit of play in there. I can feel the liner. You can probably see that, maybe not, but I can feel it moving just a little bit. Not super impressive as far as its up and down lockup goes, actually. It's very minor, though, and it's not that there's loose tolerances in here. It's just that the liner lock itself could be bent forward. I'm sure you could fix that if you bent the liner lock more forward if you took the knife apart, but ergonomics, it's comfortable. I like the cutouts they have in the handle right here. You can see my middle finger fits right there, ring and pinky down to the second cutout there, or I should say third cutout, because I'm going to say the first one's up here by the bolster. If I'm in the middle position like this, carries just like that. You can scooch up here, which would make most people's middle fingers bite down on this in-between of the cutouts and the handle, which is not very comfortable. So you might want to scooch down to here, just like I did. It's relatively comfortable. It's not the most comfortable knife ever, but they're trying to accommodate for its extreme swoop to accommodate the blade, which also is on an extreme angle. That's why it's shaped that way. It looks bizarre. Kind of like a banana, a weird banana when it's closed. Kind of ugly looking, honestly, or like a big old shark just came along and took a bite out of it. But when it's open, it looks absolutely stunningly beautiful. So I like it. And again, you can scooch down here if you wanted to. No lanyard hole, by the way. Not that I care, because I don't use lanyards on folding knives. The scallop serrations that Kershaw uses, that's what those cutouts remind me on that liner lock. It's really nice, actually. Nice attention to detail right there as well. The liners are skeletonized, as you can see. Big old rectangular cutout there. We got some more up here, a little bit less, but you don't want too many because there's the liner locks right there. Otherwise, you'd ruin the whole thing. But it is still on the heavier side. Again, these plastic, these polymer resin whatevers are pretty dense. We have a stainless steel bolster right there. Decently big blade. It's not huge or anything, but it's medium, larger size, I would say. So it's going to add to the weight. It's on the thicker side. And again, it's beveled, it's rounded, it's comfortable. There's a lot to grip onto, despite it not having any texturing on here. It's very comfortable, and I'm confident it's not going to slip out of my hand because the cutouts are more on the extreme side. Your hand really digs in there, so I'm not too uncomfortable holding this and afraid it's going to slip out of my hand or anything. Little guard right there. Could have done something more elaborate than that, but we have some jimping, very functional jimping, I should say, on the spine of the blade right here as well. Let's do a reverse grip real quick before we end the video. Oh yeah, heck yes. Really can bite down right there too. Would you use that for this knife? I probably wouldn't, because you're not going to stab anything this way because of the way the blade's shaped. So, but there it is in case you wanted to know. Maybe you have some sort of use for it. The handle scale right here, I promised I would tell you what it was exactly. The fiber-infused resin. I don't know why they didn't just use FRN. Maybe it's for the color. I don't know. Resin is like not a polymer, but it's easy to turn resin into a polymer, and they infuse it with fiber. Of course, that's very vague. What is the fiber made of? What kind of fiber is it? Who knows? Probably fiberglass, like just about every other synthetic handle material for knives in the world. It kind of reminds me of an ivory horn, but it's synthetic, so you're not hurting any poor elephants, so that's good. And again, I like the white and the blue and the silver. It's very classy and elegant looking. It's like a cleric's knife or something. It's extreme shape, it's slashing capabilities, the blue, the white, and the silver. It's assisted, and it has the IKBS on there. I would have preferred this not assisted. I'm not a huge fan of assisted knives. I'm just not. I prefer to have the capability of opening my knife slowly if I wish to do so. I wish I could just open this normally, like so. But because it's kind of awkward, it's such a strange, over-the-top extreme. I shouldn't say strange. It's an over-the-top shape. That's kind of why they did that, I think. It might have been a little bit more awkward to kind of try and flick it out. I don't think I would have had a problem with it, but maybe a lot of more casual knife shoppers would have. So again, it is what it is. I've been saying that a lot in this video because that's what this knife is. Carries very well, deploys very fast. It's very large. It's a large, long folding knife, actually. Little on the heavier side. Don't really care, though. It's very comfortable. Blade steel is not the best. Don't really care, though. Lockup is not the best. I kind of do care about that, actually. I feel it moving just a little bit. I may have to go back in here and tighten down that liner. Maybe I just got a lemon, but it's not a big deal. Very, very interesting. I love it in the collection. It looks really nice next to some other CRKTs. One of the main things I love about CRKT is their mystery box factor they have. You never know what kind of knife you're going to get from them. They look completely different. They collaborate with so many other knife makers across the world. It's just, you never know what their next design is going to be. Their main company's theme is the variety, and I love it. And they're on the more affordable side, too. CRKT is awesome. I love this knife. It's awesome. I like the weirder, more unusual stuff. And it is functional. It's just, it takes a little bit extra getting used to, and you got to kind of make some compromises for it. So it's not the best knife to EDC. It's not the best defense knife. It's a little strange. It's a little awkward to handle if you're not used to it, but it's going to excel, absolutely kick the ass of any other knife in the slashing, in this motion right here. But I would not really recommend this as a defense knife because it's just, unless you're absolutely just really used to it, it does deploy out fast, but it's just slick, even though it has those cutouts. Unless you're in the actual holding open position, it may slip out of your hands under a stressful situation, etc. It's not a great defense knife. If you're used to it, it's a pretty good defense knife, I would say. But I just carry it because it's just very interesting, elegant, menacing too. A lot of capability on here. It's not a toy. It's not a joke knife or anything. It is actually usable. It's just very elaborate and eccentric. A little cumbersome, a little awkward if you're not used to it, but I still love to carry it anyway, so there you go. Let's put this knife next to a few other knives I find interesting. I was going to say they're similar, but they're actually not really similar at all. Here's the Cold Steel Code 4 in Tonto. I just got it probably because of the colors. I think that made me pick it out. This one's going to be like 80, maybe 85 bucks. Way better steel on there. S35VN, and you get the triad lock. A lot more versatile too. And you don't need it to be assisted either. Flicks out on you every single time, even without any wrist movement, and with such a strong locking mechanism. And this one's slimmer, and it's lighter. Then again, stronger, better blade steel, a little bit more expensive, but it's not quite as unusual as this. This may be what you're looking for, is that exact shape. And what else we got here is another CRKT, the Eraser. They stopped making this one a while back, but also have a review on this guy. Also have a review on the Code 4 right there. Similar in some ways, actually, even though they're very different. Must be the bolster on there, the kind of elaborate shape. So, but anyway, there you go. If you want something different, if you like the way this knife looks and you don't mind spending the 75 bucks or whatever it is, wherever you find it, buy one. I think you'll like it. It's a lot of fun to play with. It's a fondling blade. A little extreme, but it's got its uses. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed the review. That is the CRKT Ritual. Very interesting. Again, subscribe to my channel if you wish to see more knife reviews. Thanks for watching. Mannix out.